evening, Shift Youth. Welcome to Shift Live on a Friday night. We are so happy that you are here with us today. My name is Adam. I'm the Senior High Youth Pastor here.
And my name is Tim, and I'm the Junior High Youth Pastor here. It is so good that you're joining us on your Friday night. Thank God it's Friday, Adam. Thank the good Lord it is Friday.
Fridays are my favourite day of the week, Tim.
Oh, they're so good.
For so many reasons, but the main one being youth and the fact that we get to start work at after lunch.
Oh, it's good for the soul.
Good for the soul.
It's so good for the soul.
Tim.
Yeah.
I have got a very, very special announcement. I've decided that I'm just going to start the show with a special announcement tonight.
Go for it, Ads.
Tech team, do you know what our announcement is?
No, we don't.
You don't know. Guys, you know how usually we have Shift Live at 7 and then about 7:30 we go into online small groups? Well, no more. That's not going to happen anymore. Do you know why, Tim?
Why is that, Adam?
Because we're going to in-person small groups next week.
Oh, yeah.
From next week onwards, we will be live at 7:30, but you will be watching this from the comfort of one of our generous family homes around church.
Unreal.
In your small group. So you can see all your friends face to face. You can give them an air high five from 1.5 meters away.
Amen.
You can watch Shift Live. You can still see the message. You can play a game together and you can have a study in person.
Preach it, Pastor.
It's
wow,
so
that's
exciting
good.
that we can start doing that again. So I think it's going to be a really, really good time. It's good, Timmy. It's good.
It's so good. If you haven't already, Shift Youth, if you need to sign up for like your online, you need to like sign up to join a small group. If you need to do that, you can go to newhope.net.au/youth, and there you can fill out the form and jump in and be a part of Shift Youth. On our website as well, you can also find a bunch of really cool resources like our Spotify playlist, our Bible reading plan, and a bunch of like YouTube playlists that are just awesome. It's so good. Go and check it out.
Some good stuff. We have got a ripper night for you tonight. We're going to start off with playing a game in just a sec, which we're probably alluding to a little bit. We've got an awesome, strange internet thing, and then my man Tim is going to give a killer message. Heard him practicing today, so we're in for a treat.
The strange internet thing though, Ads, it's my favourite so far. It gets so funny halfway through.
Bring your parents along to it. I think they'll appreciate it.
It's almost like a strange pre-internet thing.
It's a pre-internet thing, but it's still an internet thing.
Because we're making it an internet thing.
That's what we had this realization that anything we do can be a strange internet thing if it's strange and we do it because it's on the internet already.
Unreal.
It's a great time.
It's so good.
Tim, have you got a joke for us this week?
Well, I guess we could do a little cheeky joke this week.
I'm starting to warm up to the old Google jokes.
Let's see how we go. Hey Google, tell me a joke.
Okay, here's a joke. What did one shark say to the other while eating a clownfish? This tastes funny.
No expense spared on that one.
What was that laugh track?
Tech team, maybe we need a laugh track. Can you be our laugh track if we do a joke?
It doesn't work so well with 3 people.
Yeah, there's only 3 of us. Your jokes are all right, but
the real jokes are coming from the tech team tonight. Guys, we're going to be playing a bit of a different game tonight. It's called Pictionary. So some of you have probably played this before at home, and we're going to be playing it Shift Live style. So it's you versus Tim. So hop on your comment feeds, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, and you're going to have to try and guess what I'm drawing. So it's going to be a race between you and Tim, and the first person to guess what it is gets a point. And if the youth win at the end, we will figure out a special prize for the youth, I think.
Absolutely, which we could probably even dish out next week, Ads.
Maybe next week, probably next week. It might be a snake, a lolly snake. It's a good prize because there's a lot of you. Okay, also can we appreciate my Club Penguin penguin? Disney Channel taught me how to draw Club Penguin penguin when I was about 10 and I've still remembered, and I draw it a lot.
I could tell that you're a Disney Club kid because I've never seen that in my life and I was not a Disney Club kid, so I'm still very impressed though. It's well done.
That's a penguin for sure. Okay, so
here we go, righto.
I'm going to be drawing it kind of in bits, and let's see if people can guess it as you go. So when you guys submit your answers and stuff, tech team are kind of going to look through them, and they know what the right answer is, so they'll definitely put it through if you, but they might even throw in some funny ones if you guys are guessing along the way. So let's start. First one. Okay. I'm gonna draw it kind of like backwards
Okay.
because I want to take longer.
Cucumber.
Tim, I think you're supposed to put up a few guesses.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Tim.
Come on!
Let me finish it because I'm pretty happy with my Mickey.
I had no idea what that was either. That really kept me guessing.
Mickey Mouse. See, I'm pretty.
Okay, Tim.
You need the hands, the big white hands.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the.
And they
that's-
only have 4 fingers, I think, usually.
Yeah, I remember
Tim.
as a
Life's full of hard lessons, and I'm going to teach you one now. A youth kid actually got it before you. So,
What was the youth kid?
Genevieve Rogers, I believe.
Genevieve
well done.
Rogers, well done. You guessed it first. Great. All right.
Tim's
time for my
unimpressed.
next one.
That's a bit average. That.
Okay.
Thought I'd earned my keep. A line, an arrow, a car. The Disney. The Jetson car. It's a car. Adam, you've drawn a car. Okay. Yep. Still a car. Hasn't changed. Sports car, flower car, hippie car. What are those weird cars that you see in Byron Bay that have all the weird stickers over it and they're very inappropriate?
I realize I don't know how to draw.
And if you like this shift youth, wait till you see the strange internet thing. Oh boy. What was that? Is it the Volkswagen Beetle from that? Oh, clown car.
Correct.
Ah, there we go.
Clown car.
There we go. There we go.
I'm a professional graphic designer, so I use computers to do my bidding. But
That's pretty good. I rate that. That's actually kind of like what my hairstyle was late high school.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
Got some good news for you, mate. Another youth kid beat you to it.
oh,
so
who was it this time?
it was Georgia Bonda.
Georgia
so
Bonda.
Well done, Georgia
well
Bonda.
done, Georgia. Well done. Tippy, you've got to be quicker. And you remember, they're playing with like a
latency. I
slight
know, Adam.
delay.
I know. Sucks.
Okay,
How many of these do we have, by the way?
only 3. This is
Yeah,
the
this
last
is the
one.
last one. Adam can
my
draw
my
3
suffering
things.
can end. I'm
Pardon?
0 2.
Adam, I think, can draw 3 things, so we're all good.
I can draw a 4th, which is a special one that
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. Adam Southwood self-portrait. E.T. Mr. Burns in that weird episode when he looked like an alien. Superman. Cape Man. Oh, okay. That is the most unusual head I've ever seen. Darth Vader.
No, not Darth Vader.
Am I in the right realm though? Is it Star Wars? Someone from Star Wars?
Yeah.
All right, we've got a
Darth
winner
Maul.
here.
We've got a winner. Who is it?
Billy Diet. Well
Billy
done.
Diet. Well done. One of our, is it our year 7 boy leader? Our year 7 boy leader.
Yes.
Well done, Billy.
Coming for you, Billy.
Tim, I think this is good.
Who was it?
It's Kylo Ren. Sorry.
So
not the other Darth Vader.
I'm an OG Star Wars kid.
Yeah. This one's completely free. My year 5 teacher taught me how to draw, you don't have to guess this one, taught me how to draw an elephant, but she only knew how to draw it from behind.
It's an elephant. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right.
So she'd always do maths problems with elephants, and that's what
she.
she'd draw. Mrs. Jorgensen, shout out. I think she moved to Queensland. Anyway.
There you go. Well, that was a horrible failure on my part. Let's move on, Adam. I feel crushed.
I think it's time for a strange internet thing where you get to see my art skills really being put to test.
Oh, this is good. Oh, hey, Adam. What you doing?
Just browsing some funny stuff on the internet, Tim.
That sounds like fun, Adam.
Do you ever just want to do many of these things on a public forum live on the internet, Tim?
No, not really, Adam, but I'm getting the vibes that we're going to anyway.
Adam and Tim's
Strange
Internet
Hey Shift Youth, how you doing? It's time to do a bit of the joy of painting, Bob Ross style. If you want to paint along at home and make some happy little accidents along the way with me, you can get out some paints. We're going to have the paints come up on the bottom of the screen as I go, and I've got a nice little canvas here, about 30 centimetres by 40 centimetres, but you can choose one that works for you. We're just going to start with getting just a little bit of our avatar blue with just a little bit of our happy white. Just mix it together, and we're just going to make some clouds, and just kind of make little circles along your way. And what you're actually trying to do is make the space around the clouds, let the white really talk for itself, and just let your brush dance around the page and form what you want it to form. And you don't need too much pressure, just a little bit of light, just some light dancing. Get a bit more of that blue on there as I come a bit closer and do some closer clouds. And the beautiful thing here is that it's painting is all about the soul. It's all about how you feel. So just dance along the canvas and let your paintbrush do the talking, and maybe fill in some of those spots where there isn't a cloud. Beautiful. Then what else you can do is you can grab a slightly bigger brush. I'm gonna call this Ben my little blender, and I'm gonna hold my canvas steady as I do this, and just help blend it out a little bit more, and just let the paintbrush dance as we see the clouds start to take shape and start to form on our beautiful canvas there. Can you see the clouds starting to take shape? I can, kind of. So we come a little bit lower. I'm gonna get some of my deeper blue. This is the Avatar world Pandora in summer when everyone's got a bit of a tan. I'm just gonna dazzle some stuff down here, which is where our lake's gonna be. Just in the edges, just get some form in there. And the nice thing about a lake is it actually reflects what's happening up above. So you can just kind of do it and leave a bit of a white spot in the middle, and we can just blend that out real nicely. So once you've got your paint on there, or most of it at least, I'd recommend that you grab one of your bigger brushes, grab Ben, your little blender, and just hold onto your canvas to make sure it's nice and firm, and just start blending it out. You really want that to get through there. Ooh, beautiful. Beautiful. Did I mention we're doing an abstract painting today? It's a natural landscape, but it's up to you to see it happen for yourself. And yes, that's the initial bit. Now we're going to start making some mountains up in the night sky, and I'm going to grab my cheeky little knife out for this one and blend some, we've got some Cameron red with a bit of jet black. We're going to mix that for a bit of a deeper brown colour, and get a lot of that just on the end of my knife here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make little shapes of a mountain range starting to form in the distance there. Doesn't have to be too neat. I'm just trying to get the initial shapes going of what's going on. Beautiful. Can you see those mountains? I know I can. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give my knife a bit of a clean. Grab a bit of the white and just ever so gently just add some peaks to these mountains, these gorgeous mountains. And as I've got those peaks on there, don't want to make it too perfect. There's got to be some distance in the painting. And as I grab our trusty Ben again, which I'll give it just a bit of a clean and just a bit of a clean as we go, and just start blending out The thing. Definitely see that these drips don't matter, and don't cry over a spilled cup of water, as the saying is. Just make your beautiful mountain range, and do you know what? That water, happy little accident, but it's actually helping me blend out everything. So, there's a Lord watching us from above, helping out every little step of the way. Now that I've got my mountain range there, I'm gonna grab my normal brush again and actually just take a little bit of green and mix it with our avatar blue again, and just get that kind of on one side of the mountain range, just to give it a bit of texture and a bit of depth. And then on the other side, mix that same colour with a bit of the midnight black that we've got. And as I'm mixing that, I get a slight darker shade. Maybe I ought to get a little bit more of Cameron red and mix that in there. And as we get that all going, it's like a bit of a shadow that I'm just gonna very lightly just touch on the one side of the mountain, just to continue creating that illusion of depth and hope and love. And just some slight detail on the mountain, just to show that it's there. Again, grab my blending brush and just gonna gently brush this down as we form the mountain range. Now I think it's time for some lovely hills as we've got going on. So get a little bit of colour here and mix it with our Shrek green and our forest green. As start to do that, and a little bit of black as it's further in the background. Just gonna need a little bit more light green so we can see it. Just some trees gonna start darting along the horizon there. Some other trees, just beautiful. Gorgeous. Just you decide where your painting needs to go. Maybe I'll grab a slightly lighter one. I'm going to take a bit more of my jasmine white and just very lightly dazzle the trees as we go. Now with a slightly darker thing, I'm gonna start recreating some of those trees on our shoreline. So start just reflecting some of the trees in the water, just to make sure it looks as real as possible. And with my blade again, I'm just gonna grab a bit of that brown and a bit of I think it's crimson or chameleon or something that they call it. I'm gonna use that just to form some banks along the water, just to make sure that people see that that's where the land ends and that's where the water starts. Imagine if we didn't do that, the mountain range would just sink into the water. And last of all, no water left, just going to take a bit of the green and the black, form a very dark green. Just going to make some trees here. So really get those solid trunks going. Same on this side, make it nice and even. And with one of my medium brushes, going to take and just gently dance the tree out. Beautiful, just ever so gently, just using the corner of your brush. Dance that tree out. And of course these trees need to be sitting on just a little bit of land as well. So again, just a bit of greenery for the base. And take out your brown to cover it. And yeah, look, got a little speck up here. I can just make that into a bird. There's no mistakes in painting, just happy little accidents. So there you have it, Shift, my beautiful mountain range, oil on canvas. Back to you in the studio.
Well, isn't this just beautiful? That was painting Bob Ross style. Bob Ross was an incredible man who painted in the 70s to the 90s, I think. And he's had a bit of a resurgence online. If you haven't seen him, check it out. He does about a half-an-hour episode where he teaches you the joy of painting. And I think I did a pretty good job. I would sell it, but I reckon it should hang up in the studio here. Dave, what do you reckon? Do you reckon I hang it up in the studio?
Yeah, I reckon we could find a spot for it.
Yeah,
Where do you think? Maybe.
What about on the wall right here, Dave?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Maybe a bit lower.
Yeah, like eye level?
A bit lower than that, I reckon.
Like eye level for the youth?
A bit lower than that.
Eye level for Raymond.
Yeah, keep going down, mate. We're nearly there.
Raymond still.
Yeah, no, that'd be good for Raymond, but not good for us. Down. Keep
Annie?
going. Bit more.
A bit more.
Yeah, that's perfect, mate.
Isn't that a bit low?
No, the camera magic, mate. We can see it perfectly from here. The angles are different, obviously,
Yeah.
but, you know, on TV it's fine.
Good. Yeah, I guess it's an abstract painting as well, so that does make sense.
Yeah, abstract painting, abstract hanging. That's what I always say.
That's what it's going to be. Hey, guys, thank you for joining us for Adam and Tim's strange internet things again. We have got Timmy Spence bringing us an incredible message tonight, so why don't we go over to him?
Yeah, let that image inspire you as I talk tonight. Good stuff, Ads. Love that, mate. That was amazing. Tonight, Shift Live, so good to be with you. I'm going to talk about forgiveness tonight. I'm going to talk about forgiveness from the story of Joseph. Now, Joseph is a character in the Bible. You can find this story in the Old Testament at the end of the book of Genesis, which is the first book of the Bible. And Joseph lived an incredible life and would have had a best-selling book on Amazon if he ever wanted to write an autobiography. Like, Joseph knew the great highs of life and he knew the very low depths. We get introduced to Joseph and we get told that he's a dreamer and he can decipher and explain the meaning of dreams. He's the second youngest of 12 brothers and he was the favourite son of his father's. He was given a beautiful jacket by his old man and his brothers resented him for it. So they plotted to kill him, but they only ended up selling him into slavery and he was taken to Egypt and sold to one of the Pharaoh's officials. So it's a pretty sucky way for Joseph to start his autobiography. However, there's a cool little short line in the text in the Bible that you could miss if you weren't reading like super attentively. And all it says is that the Lord was with Joseph, which is always just a good reminder that God is always in the mess and the confusion and dysfunction of life with you. With God's help, Joseph found success in all things that he did, and his owner found favour with him and put him in charge of all of his possessions and all of his household. From then the Lord blessed this Egyptian household, all because of Joseph. So things are starting to begin to look a little bit better for his autobiography. But the official's wife notices that Joseph is a bit of a good-looking, well-built rooster, much like myself. She wants to have an affair with him. But Joseph refuses insistently, but the wife then accuses him of doing the wrong thing. And the official gets so angry, and fair enough, and throws Joseph into prison where he stayed for 2 years. So we're kind of back to where we started. The autobiography is not looking too good again. But yet again in the Bible, we read these words again. The Lord was with Joseph. One night, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had a couple of dreams that got him a little rattled, that shook him up. And he asked all of his magicians and his wise men to come and decipher this dream, but none of them could. And eventually word got to Pharaoh that Joseph had this gift of being able to decipher and explain dreams. So Joseph is summoned before Pharaoh, and Joseph interprets the dream. And the dream is of a great harvest that is about to come, but it is going to be quickly followed by a severe famine across the whole land. Because of this, Pharaoh trusted Joseph and put Joseph in second in command across all of Egypt. So Joseph has literally gone from the lowest of the low in prison to being put second in command under Pharaoh. And because of this, whatever Joseph says now goes. Quite a series of events, quite a life well lived so far. And he would have a good story to yarn at the pub with mates, I'd say. After some good years of harvest, a severe famine hit all of Egypt. But Joseph had prepared Egypt and had been storing up food. Now his brothers were also affected, and his family were also affected by this famine. And so they came to Egypt because they heard that they could buy food there. Now this is an interesting moment because Joseph is in charge of all of Egypt's food, is in charge of selling all the food. But this is going to be the first time in 20 years that Joseph would have seen his brothers since they sold him into slavery. And because of Joseph's position as the second in command, he could have done whatever he wanted to do to his brothers. If he wanted to throw them into prison or banish them into the desert, he could have. He had that sort of power. But his response is not what you'd expect. Firstly, the brothers come to Joseph and they throw themselves at his feet and they bow before him as a sign of reverence in the hope to get food. Joseph recognizes them, but they actually don't recognize him. 20 years has probably done a lot to him. He decides to then play a few strange little mind games and suss them out and try and figure out what their true intentions are. And after a confusing sequence of tricks, traveling, weird events, dysfunctional family stuff, Joseph finally reveals who he is to his brothers. And Joseph says this, he says, come close to me. I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt as a slave. Do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here. Joseph humbles himself and forgives his brothers for the horrible, horrible thing that they had done 2 decades earlier. But why? Because I think Joseph could see that God's grace and protection had been over him since the beginning. And he could let go of the hurt that had been caused so long ago. He could trust that God would continue to be with him and that God's plans are good. So Joseph's story kind of slows down and sort of peters out when he manages to relocate his whole family to Egypt. Now I want to talk about forgiveness because in all of Joseph's story, the thing that inspires me the most, of all of the crazy tales that he would tell, the thing that inspires me the most is his act of forgiveness towards his brothers. Forgiveness is a door of life abundant and life to the full. Now, how do you figure that? We are all made and designed in the likeness and in the image of God. And our God is the merciful, forgiving Father. And because we are designed in his likeness, we can reflect that. When you forgive, you fulfill the purposeful design that God has placed on your life. When you hold on to grudges and when you hold on to bitterness, that actually takes away from the full, wholesome life. We forgive so anger, bitterness, grudges, hatred, resentment don't pollute and rot away at the things in our heart. We are not designed to hold on to that stuff. We are not designed to be hate-filled. We are not designed to be angry. We're not designed to be bitter or anxious or hostile. We're not designed to hold a grudge, and we are definitely not designed to resent one another. We are designed to live in the full, abundant life that Jesus offers us when we walk in step with him. We gain this by being someone who is slow to anger, but quick to forgive. You can't be a loving, peaceful, and joyful person and not forgive. It's like oil and water. They just simply don't mix. Forgiving might not be easy. In fact, most of the time it will be difficult. It's a sacrifice you make, sacrificing your bitterness and sacrificing your anger. And doing that, it breeds love and breeds life. Joseph lived a long and happy life, surrounded by his family, and he was able to see his family grow, support each other, and he could keep them under his protection with his position of second in command. Joseph eventually died an old man surrounded by those he loved and cared for. He never would have had this complete, wholesome, fulfilling life if he held a hate-filled grudge and not forgiven his brothers. I can imagine and let my mind wander and think what Joseph's life could have been like had he held on to that bitterness towards his brothers and he didn't forgive them. And I just don't think it looks anywhere near as satisfying or rewarding. One of the most beautiful parts of Joseph's act is that his forgiveness healed a broken family. It brought them all back together and they were able to reconcile and live in unity. We should forgive because forgiveness is a catalyst for healing. That is another fingerprint of God's character in us. There are many times in the Bible when Jesus has been asked to heal someone And Jesus doesn't reply with a snap of his fingers or a cool magic trick. He actually replies with these beautiful words, "Your sins are forgiven." Forgiveness is a catalyst for healing. And to forgive, you need to be humble. You need to have compassion and you need to have your full trust in God. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you condone or agree with what's happened. It also doesn't necessarily mean that you become best friends with the person and are just in a habitual hug for the rest of your life. Forgiveness is letting go, letting God take control and letting God restore you and heal you. Because of Joseph's humility and willingness to trust in God, even in the darkest times in his life, he was able to forgive those who had done wrong to him. He could have held a grudge and mistreated his brothers in return, but he knew and valued the life that God had set before him. Now, I want to come and read to you a little story that Jesus told his disciples when the disciples asked him about forgiveness. This story I find really cool and really interesting, and it helps let me have a perspective on my salvation through Jesus Christ. And so I just want to encourage you, I'm going to read it to you straight from the Bible. I just want to encourage you, you can close your eyes and listen, take a deep breath, just slow down, feel the peace of God and listen. This is from Matthew 18, 23 to 35. There was once a king who had servants who had borrowed money from the royal treasury. He decided to settle his accounts with each of them. And as he began the process, it came to his attention that one of his servants owed him $1 billion. So he summoned the servant before him and said to him, "Pay me what you owe." When the servant was unable to repay his debt, the king ordered that he be sold as a slave, along with his wife and his children and every possession they owned as payment towards his debt. Now the servant threw himself face down at his master's feet and begged for mercy. "Please be patient with me. Just give me more time and I will repay you all that I owe." And upon hearing his pleas, the king had compassion on his servant and released him and forgave his entire debt. No sooner had this servant left the presence of the king when he met one of his fellow servants who owed him only $20,000, which is nothing compared to the $1 billion he owed before. He seized him by the throat and began to choke him, saying, "You better pay me right now everything you owe me." His fellow servant threw himself face down at his feet and begged, "Please be patient with me. If you'll just give me time, I will repay you all that is owed." But the one who just had his debt forgiven stubbornly refused to forgive what was owed to him. He had his fellow servant thrown into a prison and demanded that he remain there until he repaid the debt in full. When his associates saw what was going on, they were outraged. And they went to the king and told him the whole story. And the king brought him before him and said, "You scoundrel, is this the way that you respond to my mercy? Because you begged me, I forgave you the massive debt that you owed me. Why didn't you show the same mercy to your fellow servant that I showed you?" And in a fury of anger, the king turned him over to the prison guards to be tortured until all his debt was repaid. Now, on the surface, that story can feel like a little bit of a bummer, but there are two things here that we need to let form in our hearts. The first point that Jesus is trying to make is actually a warning. Jesus, believe it or not, is actually putting you and me as the bad guy in this story. That we've received this amazing gift of this enormous debt being forgiven, but then not being able to forgive others who have wronged us so much less. Very clearly, unforgiveness doesn't lead to a full life and an abundant, wholesome life. In fact, it just kind of ends miserably. But the second point that Jesus makes here is just how beautiful and how merciful our salvation through him is. Our God has wiped our slate clean to be as white as snow. He did this on the cross. He took our sin, he took our shame, and has taken this massive debt and forgiven it. This is how good our God is. All he wants us to do in return is to repent and ask for forgiveness from him. and then to go and do to others as he has already gone and done for us. This is how we live in the joy of the Lord and live in peace and live in love. This is how we can forgive those who have done wrong against us. I want to kind of finish with these words that the Apostle Paul wrote in Ephesians, and it just wraps up everything really beautifully and really simply. He just says, be kind and compassionate. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ forgave you. Nice and simple. But as hard as it can be to forgive someone, I guarantee you'll discover a healthy and satisfying life, not having to carry that weighty, weighty burden of anger and bitterness. We're about to head into online small group time, but I just really want to quickly pray for you before you do. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for the sacrifice that you made and that unconditional love and forgiveness that you've poured out to all of us, Lord. Lord, we just thank you so much for the life of Jesus that he lived. And Lord, as we just sort of enter this weekend, Lord, may you just remind us once more again of just how far and how wide and how deep your unconditional love and compassion is for us, Lord. Thank you that you have forgiven us. Lord, bless this time that we are about to have together and keep us safe over this weekend. Lord, we bless you and we love you. And we honour the name of Jesus. Amen. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Grace and peace.